All right. What's up, everybody? How are you out there? My name is Thinker St. James. Welcome back to the Yama channel. We are doing last week's fights tonight. That is myself and my homie over here, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, Chase?
Bro, it is a fucking good day. Monday came. Fucking go. This card, I promise you, like, you can go back and watch the stream, and I may have had some moments where I was dozed off between the. Hey, it was never during a fight. I want to specify that first. It was never during a fight. It was between, because they were taking so long, and they was starting to get some finishes. So we had to, you know, they started racking up the time between to fill out the fucking time slot. Oof. But yeah, I was cooked for a minute, and then when it started to pick up, it was cool, and then we'll get into other shit about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, most definitely. This was a pretty good card overall. Shout out to Jono in the chat. And for anybody else who might be coming into the chat, we are going to be breaking down every single one of the fights on this card. So if you have anything that is not related to those fights, you can throw it in the chat. We might be able to talk about it a little bit later, but we're going to go through them one by one. And yeah, so overall impressions were pretty good on this one. Let's start off with Sardrikas Dumas versus Dennis Tululin. What do you think of the fight?
Yeah, dumbass is a fitting fucking nickname, and I'm not even trying to be like that, but Sandhagen, like, if you can't finish this dude, like, I know you won, and it was unanimous, right? Let me double check. I believe it was, but yeah, I thought he should have came out and smoked him for real. I was hoping for more, but Sandhagen is not really that impressive yet.
Yeah, well, it was okay. So Sandhagen was maintaining a good amount of pressure. And when he was at range, his striking was pretty okay. I think that Tululin is kind of sneaky strong and also got in some sneaky knees as well. So it might have thrown him off a little bit early because, like, I think within like the first like 30 seconds or so, he landed like a knee that was like real quick and didn't look like it was, you know, it was timed well and kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't look like it was coming from any like place that would have been anticipated by Sardrikas. So. You know, I think that he might have been having a little bit of difficulty with what he was dealing with him. He also got reversed in the first round by Dennis Tululin. And he ended up getting back. But I think that, again, I think that in the early part of the fight, he was dealing with some stuff that was unanticipated. So it might have kind of thrown him off of his game. And then both of them looked like they gassed kind of early in the fight, too. So, you know, a little bit of a tank issue, probably something to look out for in the future from both of them. But, you know, not the most dominant win on the planet, but a solid win, I would guess, at the end of the day.
It's funny you bring up, like, the future for both of them. This dude's 10-10, my guy. Like, there can't be more coming. Like, seriously.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, 10-10 is pretty wild.
And, you know, Sandhagen, I remember watching, and I was joking about the dumbass thing, but when I was watching, I promise you, there was so many opportunities where he was just looking so stupid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there were a couple of times. I mean, I think that overall, it wasn't like as terrible as that, but like it wasn't great. I mean, like, because yeah, he was my lock for the card. I mean, he was the one that like I had. Now all of my parlays ended up getting busted for various reasons we'll get into later, but he was the one that was like the linchpin of all of it, because I was like, this is going to be a walk in the park for Sudrikas. He's been looking great in his last couple of fights. I mean, last fight aside, obviously there was some weirdness in that with the eye poke and all that stuff with the refereeing and everything. Talked about that on the Atlantic City video. But aside from that, I mean, he's one of those dudes that I kind of was like, oh, this guy's on the come up. And it definitely does not inspire a whole lot of confidence in like the higher levels necessarily. Cause yeah, you're right. I mean, a dude that was at the time, 9 and 10, right? I mean, that would, or 10 and 9. Yeah. 10 and 9. So, I mean, yeah, if he's not putting him away, but again, I do want to specify that Tallulah has some sneaky power. So, it's not like he was coming out there not throwing anything. I mean, like he was getting a couple nice shots in. So, yeah, it wasn't necessarily the greatest performance on the planet, but got the win at the end of the day, and it was decent. I mean, I think that he did pretty much dominate. I guess they gave him the Tallulah in the second round, but
the striking numbers are pretty crazy. I wanted to say, like, he got outstruck kind of bad, like almost 2-1 kind of.
So yeah, there you go. I mean, but I mean, it's kind of crazy that the strikes that how we always talk about the numbers, how it's crazy how they all shake out. But like, so 95 significant strikes to 183 total, but 49 significant strikes for Sudrikas and 26 for Tallulah. How that all breaks down, I guess you'd have to go back and count them up.
And it's funny too, because you brought up, Tallulah's, sneaky strength. Like, you would believe watching that the significant strike leader was him, because Sudrikas was just, kind of bullshitting around. Like, he wasn't cooking, man. And I was hoping he would. Like, this was, like you said, this was the lock. I thought he was going to finish it, because Dennis got finished by fucking Christian Leroy Duncan. And then he got whooped by RoboCop. So Sudrikas, like, what can you put together that's going to make me think like, oh, you could maybe beat somebody like Christian Leroy Duncan? Because it don't look like you can get farther than that. I mean,
yeah, and that's after that last performance. It's not the greatest place to be. So yeah. I mean, so hopefully Sudrikas can I guess become a little bit more dominant, because when like the pressure that he has is good. Like, he really just needs to figure out how to be more effective when he's in those pressure situations, when he's putting that pressure on. I mean, like, he's had him up against the cage. There was that one time in the first round, he had him, Tallulah was on a knee, so it wasn't like the greatest position or whatever, but he had him locked. He had the hands locked, and like they were just sitting there for a good 30 seconds, minute long. I'm like, dude, are you going to do anything with this? Like, either drag down or break the lock and get some strikes in. I mean, I know that the striking from Tallulah was getting him shook a little bit, but you got to do something. I mean, that's like the almost half standing version of lay and pray. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to give big props to Tallulah. I do. He does take some pretty big fights. This one excluded. But if I'm going to give praise, like, I'm looking at this dude's record, and 10 and 10, like, bro, he went up against RoboCop. He went up against Ikram, like, way long ago. Like, I don't know, man. And the Christian Leroy Duncan, like, reasonably so he's 10 and 10, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Like, he does surprise you in moments, and, like, he could have caught one of those knees to the body and, ended it. We saw a lot of body shots that looked like they were hurting people. So
very, very much so. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So yeah, and so I mean, like, that's the thing though. It's like what we were talking about, the end of the road for Tallulah possibly. It's like it would kind of suck. I mean, he probably would be one of those guys that might have some success elsewhere. But like, yeah, because like the way that he was fighting in that fight, it was like he wasn't showing that he was like a can or anything. Like, I mean, like it was more competitive than that. I thought it was a really good opening fight for the card, honestly. I thought it was pretty competitive. Really like having Sudrikas as the lock made it like, kind of nail biter for me, because I'm like, man, he's putting up a lot more of a fight than I expected. So yeah, maybe Tallulah ends up somewhere else, and maybe that, is a better look for him.
Well, and to counter it going somewhere else, I know I'm joking, and like what's next for him is not much, but like maybe business wise, like he is somebody that you throw up against an up and coming competitor, and like he might pull something off. Like 10 and 10, I mean, okay, is bad, but he almost beat, arguably the numbers. Oh no, he maybe beat Sudrikas, unanimous decision or not, I don't know, like whatever it is, but
yeah. It was a pretty good performance overall, all things considered. But Sudrikas did win. we'll see what happens with Tululin. But yeah, no, really, I mean, I think that's the bigger story though, is that Shadrikas needs to figure out, like go watch that back and figure out what the problems were, because with the record being as such, that really should have been a little bit more of a walk in the park. I think a lot of people were in my same position, being real nervous watching that fight.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So that's that one. Let's see what else we got here. Jai Herbert versus Rolando Bedoya. Herbert is the most candy caned fighter of all time, it seems like. I mean, if there's a candy cane record, it is Jai Herbert's. But he looked pretty fresh in this one.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot going on with the striking. Like the numbers, like didn't even reach 100 on either landed. So in my opinion, this is where I was like kind of clocking out early, but the next fight got me back into it. So this one, I can't really tell you much that happened here, really.
Yeah, well, the striking, Herbert's striking was pretty crisp. It wasn't it didn't look like it has a lot of power on it. Like, I think that's kind of one of his problems, is that he's not super powerful. At least that's the way that I would interpret it. Because Bedoya, like he was doing some work of his own. I mean, Herbert took some heavy kicks to the legs. His lead leg was eaten up like crazy. So I mean, there was definitely a little bit of a back and forth. It did go to decision. Again, another unanimous decision. I think it was the correct one, but overall, it was still competitive enough to be somewhat entertaining. But yeah, it wasn't a great look for either of them in the big picture.
Yeah, and so you talk about his power, and all in the Discord, the whole fight is like, Jai Herbert's gonna get a knockout. He knocked down Ilya. He almost finished it, and it's like he didn't do nothing. Like I wasn't really impressed. I'm looking at somebody who's supposed to be the God killer, like that they're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's fluky shit to me. I mean, honestly, like I have to go back and rewatch it to see if Ilya fucking slipped.
Dude, I mean, they were pretty confident. It was like moments away, man. Moments away. Jai Herbert was on his way. Like it was, dude, crazy talk.
But yeah, I mean, Bedoya took the second round, so it's like, I mean, the first and third were good for him. That second was Bedoya's, so closer than that would lead you to believe, if that's the truth.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that with these unanimous decisions, man. I know a decision's a decision, but one judge gave a 29-28 in this, and then the other dudes gave 30-27s. So, and it is what it is. He may or may not have won the second round. The judges don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. I would say that he did enough in the second, but either way, I mean, the end result is correct. So
yeah,
but honestly, again, not a great look for either of them. I mean, there's like Herbert's one of those guys that I think is gonna get eaten alive by a prospect coming up, or if they he might actually be one of the good ones to throw like an aged out guy too. That actually might be a somewhat competitive fight for a dude who's on the tail end of his career. We'll talk about one of those guys a little bit later in this stream.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so not the greatest fight in the world, but not terrible.
Definitely a fight where it's like, oh, we just saw a really good fight. Got to get something to eat now. I got to munch on something. So let's go stand in concessions. Why this dude named Jai Herbert fights? Like,
yeah, I could see that.
They were calling him a Herbie in the Discord. I'm like, yo, this can't be a real thing. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, he was not rocking it. But this fight was better, though, in my opinion. This was so we talk sometimes about how women's MMA is perceived by the fan base. I think that this is a good example of a fight that was a pretty competitive one, and a good example of decent women's MMA.
Yeah, it was fun. Honestly, of course, I was mad. Victoria, you let us down. I was going in here calling you perfect. Like, that was your nickname, girl. Like, and now I just can't believe you. You were baby Shevchenko. Like, where is the killer? Where is the, like, okay, you showed some good, but Sam Hughes, that ain't it. You can't lose to that. I don't know. America or not. Shout out America, Sam. All the best. But, man, you were supposed to be a killer, Victoria. I just can't believe what I witnessed.
Well, let me put it like this. I think that this was the exact loss that Dudikova needed. I think that because she was 8-0, I believe, coming into this fight.
Yeah.
I think something like that. So she was on a pretty good streak. she had been doing some decent work early in her career. Um, the pressure that Sam was putting on her early was, I think, a little overwhelming to her. I think that that's really the story of this fight, is that I think she got a little overwhelmed early, and then she was fighting a little panicky. I think that DC even said that on the commentary, that her corner was telling her to calm down, and after the second round, that was very apparent. So Sam Hughes actually looks a lot improved herself. So this is kind of like one of those tales of, one person at one level, one person who's been in the game a little bit longer, in continuing to improve and then putting it on this up and comer. I think that it was a good loss overall for her, because really she needs to go back and just drill some of the fundamentals. I think this is one of those ones you watch back and you can pick out some of the places where she needs to improve. She just makes those improvements. She's got a bright future ahead of her. So I'm not mad at this loss for her.
Yeah, I want to double check before I say that the lights got a little too bright, but no, she did perform. I mean, she was in Abu Dhabi, let me double check if this was 294. Yeah. So she's performed in Abu Dhabi. I mean, I figured she was like maybe a fight night girl kind of thing, but I don't know, man. One judge did give her a 30-27. I do want to point that out. So whatever you want to say, one judge said that she unanimously won this,
Same judge who gave 30-27 to Jai Herbert. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just
No, I mean, if they're in order of all the judges, I mean, yeah, you're right, yeah. So.
But look, I mean, really, we put a lot of the emphasis on Dudakova because she's undefeated. I think that this was a really nice performance for Sam Hughes. I don't think that Sam Hughes' record tells the story of the fighter in this one for sure. Like, because I think she's like 9-5 or something like that. 9-6. So I mean, that's just talking about Dennis Tululin. That's also not a great record. I mean, Tululin's is much worse, but that's still not great. Either way, she's training with Ilya's team out in Spain for her striking now, which I thought showed. I mean, I thought the striking was really crisp, and the pressure was really the key to it. I mean, she wasn't letting her up. And then the times when she was trying to get the wrestling going, Hughes was able to navigate it. Makes her a little bit more gun shy to go in and try to get her game plan going on the ground. It really, all of the elements added up to not being a fight that was in Dudakova's favor. All things considered.
And I honestly feel bad because I was a little hard on her. She still is pretty damn good, and she is pretty close to perfect. Not yet, because she's not a fit. She's got to have that killer. She's got to, when the fight goes to the ground, it's got to end on the ground. You better fucking sub her. You better figure something out. She may or may not have almost been put in the crucifix. I know that was a different fight we'll talk about later. I want to say maybe I was dreaming or something. There was some weird grappling situations.
Yeah, I think it was the end of one of the rounds. I think it might have been the first or the second, where they were like going for each other's legs and sort of ended up in this weird pretzel for a minute there.
Yeah.
But yeah. I again, testament to Sam Hughes. Really, I think that the veteran status kind of showed through. The experience plus the continued improvement was there. Sam Hughes, another one that it's kind of hard to put a lot of cards into right now just because of how her record has been. But I even before this fight, I was saying that, I think I said that on the last Monday stream, when I was like, Sam Hughes is one of those ones that somehow figures out a way to win sometimes. So, it's not a bad underdog pick if you can get it for a good price. We'll just have to see what she does in the future. But I don't think that Dudakova is, out in the slightest. I think she just needs to learn from this loss. And if it was going to be a loss that she had to take, at this stage of her career, this was a fine one to take. Because really everything that she did, like, that needs to be improved, showed in that fight. Like, all of those elements are there that she just needs to work on. So put the pieces together.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that I double checked to see if, Sam Hughes has been somebody who's knocking out some, pretty big names her whole career. But that doesn't look like the case.
Nah, decisions.
So that looks like a bad loss, like on the record book. Like, Sam Hughes, like maybe if she was somebody, the karate hottie, she had beat some pretty big names or something like that. And, those are something to think about. Like, she at one time was in a really good form, could compete with the best. But yeah, I feel bad, man. Women's MMA, unpredictable as all. And here we are again, back at the drawing board.
Yeah, but I'm riding with Sam Hughes on this one. I think she looked a lot better than her previous fights. and she's continuing to make improvements, time over time, which is exactly what you want to see. So good fight for her.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on, we got Guram Kutateladze versus the newcomer Jordan Visenik. What do you think of this fight?
I believe that Jordan was fighting a weight class up, and this was somewhat on short notice.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was short notice. All right.
I believe so. And he arguably won that fight. Guram gassed out like so fast, and it was just fighting for his life at that point. And Jordan, man, I remember him looking pretty good in that fight. Like for somebody who just like stepped up and is just like, fuck it, I'll fight a dude that's in Ilya's camp or whatever. Shout out to him. He made England proud right there. I'll give you that. Even though his tattoos are awful.
Yeah, well, to touch on that real quick, I said that his nickname is the Epidemic, which is funny because he's had an outbreak of black ink on his skin. But no, I'm glad that you said though that you thought that he arguably won that fight, because I was saying that like Jordan got the first, definitely he got that knockdown. He was looking real fresh in the first. Guram, I would say maybe got the third, but everyone's saying that he won the second, and I was like, man, it was pretty goddamn close. Like, I mean, either one of those last two rounds were fairly close. I mean, granted that by the second and third round, Visenik wasn't he wasn't at range as much, so I don't think he was putting on as much of like the striking that he had been early. I don't think it was a gas issue though. I think that he just found himself in those positions, and that's just what he ended up doing, and then wasn't able to like really fully capitalize on those clinch positions. That's one of the things in general in MMA that like people really need to be drilling is what do you do when you're in a dominant clinch position? Like if you have the guy up against the cage, where are you going with that? We'll talk about another fight in a couple minutes here where the heavyweights were going at it, and there were a whole lot of clinch situations where he could have done a million different things. And I mean, there were occasionally times where we're talking about Gaziv where he did some stuff, but like if you're in the dominant position in the clinch, even if you don't have the hooks in, like there's still things that you like. Always be thinking about what the next thing is. There are still things you can do, and if you're just in a position where you're stalemating, you're not winning. You're not on the offense. You're just in a neutral state. So, I mean, I'm not saying that was all of his performance, because, like I said, that first round, he got that knockdown. He was looking pretty fresh. I think that he let it get away from himself because those tie-up situations he wasn't able to capitalize on. He started optically looking a little bit slower, like Guram was pulling away from it, even though he arguably wasn't. So yeah, I don't know how that all plays out necessarily, but yeah, I kind of agree that it might have been a victory for Visenik more so than Guram Kutateladze.
And to touch back to the beginning, and I want to say that this is sounding more likely to me, that on short notice he was able to step up a weight class so he doesn't have to cut,
Yeah, sure.
And the unanimous, man, I feel like, again, that's just so harsh. Like, this is one of those good performances where obviously you know who the fuck this dude is now because of his fucking look at him. But like,
yeah,
he's somebody to look out for, and it's a fun fight when he's up. As long as the opponent's right. It obviously takes two, but I think Guram, he was gassed in my opinion, and I think I looked down on him for that. Like, if you're going to win the fight now, you got to do something very impressive instead of looking sloppy and, dragging your feet around and letting Jordan, walk all over you. So I don't know. Again, this is where I was starting to, in between fights, I had to take my nap. So I can tell you for sure the next one, I had some dream happen. So,
well, the next one was a perfect time to be dreaming. Just to wrap this one up, though, I think that Visenik has he's one to watch out for, I would say. With performance like that against Kutateladze, who's been around for a while. I mean, this is a guy who's been in the organization for a little minute. You know the name. I think that he's one to keep an eye on because the performance was a lot better than a unanimous decision would lead one to believe.
Yeah.
But next fight was Shamil Gaziv and Dontel Mays, and this was perhaps among the most boring fights I have ever seen in my life.
I remember specifically. I was, I may have been at work and I was going over like, okay, what are some talking points that I want to bring up? And I was like, oh my God, Shamil Gaziev got a finish. And it's the fucking dude 2 fights later who looks just like him, just shorter, man. And now like Shamil Gaziev, you are the reason that I started to go to sleep. Now that I see the truth, I've awakened. Brother, Dontel Mays is not fucking good, and you are not that good either. If all you can do is go to unanimous decision with people, and the Discord, you got to listen to this, bro. The Discord were telling me that Shamil Gaziev was gonna get a fucking submission, and I said, "You are fucking stupid." Like, no,
Yeah.
like, I had to, bro. I'm like, there is just no way that you think Shamil Gaziev one is gonna finish a fight at this point. I get it's 3 rounds, he'll make it, but he ain't finishing that shit. And submission at that, he did it in the Contender Series, and Dontel Mays got subbed by Cyril Gahn. That was their whole fucking, battery to this. But no, Shamil, I don't know if I can do this much longer, dog. Even with wins.
Yeah, dude, the performance was, I mean, like, I'm looking at these total strikes. I'm like, I don't know where the hell they're getting these numbers from. It felt like this entire fight was clinch, ground, wet blanket. He was a wet blanket on the feet. He was a wet blanket on the ground, and he did nothing with it. It was, I mean, like, I was really, really going through the motions with this one, man, because I mean, like, I have no notes about this fight. Like, Mays came out, and I mean, like, if you know after the first round that you are going to be tied up to the T, like, I mean, like, that you're going to be unable to do anything striking wise and not be able to get back up if you are on the ground. If you know these things, you have to come out swinging heavy. And it's just, I mean, like, by the second round, it was like, I mean, granted they are heavyweight. The gas tank is, of course, always the first thing to fade. In any fight with heavyweights, that's why a lot of the time when it's the lower level heavyweight guys, if it's not a first round knockout, it has the potential to be a very boring fight. Like, if you know that that's the case, bro, you got to be quicker to the draw, and he just wasn't. Like, I mean, and I think that the gas was definitely an issue, a minute and a half in when he was getting tied up. It's like, bro, no tank whatsoever. And Gaziev had his way, and Gaziev didn't do anything. So it was hard to watch.
So think back a couple weeks ago, we're in the UK, and Mick Parkin steps up, and I had thought like, oh, going to decision, heavyweights doesn't do much. Like, okay, he's active with his hands, he's got good striking, but there's nothing to it. He's not dropping people. He came out and proved me wrong, right? Shamil Gaziev, I came in and said, you're taking your ass to decision, and you're gonna not look great doing it. And you know what he did? He proved my ass right. He looked exactly as ass as he should. And it's so crazy because, like, who do you like? I look at all these people and I'm like, all right, just give them to Derek Lewis. Like, you can line up the amount of people that Derek Lewis can just fight, week after week at this point. Like, I really think it would be possible for him to do how Hamzat and fucking Jean Silva did their little back-to-back week. Bro, Derek Lewis could fucking do 5 weeks back-to-back. You can put any of the top 5, or not top 5, top 15, excuse me. But, top 15 against him. And he, like, Shamil Gaziev toast.
Is he ranked? Is Gaziev ranked?
No.
But thank God. I was gonna say, is he top 15?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm going to the rankings. I don't believe.
Because I mean, while you check that, I mean, you're making a good point in general. It's heavyweight is such a fucking mess right now. I mean, like, what does that performance inspire? What does that inspire for the matchmakers? Oh, this guy is going to, a very effective wet blanket. What are we going to put him up against? Like, where, like, I mean, really, like, the lower level of heavyweight is just like fucking chasing its tail. It's like the Ouroboros, you know what I mean? Like, they're running around in circles because all of them have, are like essentially cans fighting cans. Heavyweight is so fucked right now.
Yeah, it's honestly bad. It's not fucking look. It looks good at some times when you get surprised. When Mick Parkin shows up and you think, all right, look at this big white slob, he's from the UK. Like, what's he going to do? And then he actually pulls off some crazy shit. And then you get, again, you got to make people remember you. This
absolutely,
is we talk about often. You got to put on a performance that I come back to your next fight and say, he could do this. Not, yeah, the judges are going to have to give it to him on this one. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and thankfully he is not ranked, and a performance like that will definitely not be doing anything to change that. But
Thankfully.
yeah,
Thankfully.
and I mean, and we're getting on Gaziev a whole lot, in his victory. Dontel Mays, I mean, this was possibly the worst performance that you could have. I mean, like, if you are not able to strike and then you are not able to get back up, what are you able to do?
Yeah.
That's you saw it, nothing. So
Yep, it's a tough one, man.
yeah, it was a tough one for Dontel Mays, and it was a tough one for the fans. So,
Yep.
all right, let's move on to a much better fight, I would say, or at least better performance. This is Muhammad Yahya versus Coué Fernandez. Coué Fernandez looking like another name to remember over here. What a performance from him.
Yeah, it sucks because Muhammad, in front of the home crowd, man, you're
Yeah.
from the UAE, the one and only. They had it on the little thing, the only UAE fighter, and man, that sucks, man. I know he felt really bad. Like 4 strikes landed. God, we see, honestly, now that we break it down, it's a lot more common than, you see like the headlines of like, Lemos, 2 strikes to 254. That's crazy. But like 2 strikes, we see 4, we see 6, like Carlos Ulberg, like don't even land a strike type thing. Like I don't know. Not Carlos Ulberg, fucking Alonzo Menfield. Yeah. Excuse me. But it's crazy. It's
yeah. I mean, this one really kind of makes sense based on all of the factors here. I mean, first round, Fernandez was punishing Yaya's lead leg so bad, dude did not check a single kick. His leg was welted up from the first maybe minute and a half of the round. I mean, that thing was bumpy as a motherfucker. I mean, all over welts on the leg early. Nothing doing as far as checks go, to the point where I think that he was trying to stance switch, but it was kind of weird because when he went to go do it, he still was sort of like, he went to shift his body weight but didn't fully change, so like he was almost like straight on with him. And it was like, buddy, that's you're wide open now. I mean, that's a really bad look there. So he that was the earlier part of it. He drops him, and then it's just completely over after that. I mean, like, like all it took was that one strike to put him down, and he's just out of there, bro. I mean, like, Fernandez definitely has some power in his limbs, both hands and legs, arms and legs.
And you made a good point. I do remember now that welt, man, that was big. That fucking
multiples,
bro. That his shin, I can see why you stand switch. I wouldn't want to stand on that shit either. But I mean, if he didn't get it finished in this first, he was not walking. He was not gonna walk his way to decision. That leg was fucked up, man. Like,
yeah, and he's standing right. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be too hard on him, but when it calls for it, you kind of have to be. I mean, he was just making really low fight IQ kind of decisions. He was standing right in front of him, no head movement whatsoever either. Really, just like head straight. And I mean, he was allowing. This was another blank canvas moment right here. I talk about it all the time. Talk about it again. And Coué Fernandez did exactly what you should do when you have a blank canvas. You go out there and you get the win. You get it definitively. You get the stoppage.
Yeah, and so we go back to it. Shamil Gaziev didn't make a notable performance. Fernandez, okay. Now when I see him step up, like, okay, I mean, he might bring out something. I've seen him get a knockout in the first round. Like, okay.
Yeah, Vicenic as well. We just talked about that too.
Exactly. But then on the opposite side, you have, Muhammad. It's like, you were there to represent. Like, I watched you representing your country. You were the man. You were supposed to bring in that money, man. And you failed. I know you were the underdog. I'm now seeing that. But
oh yeah, big underdog. I think that Fernandez was one of the larger favorites on the card.
Yeah, but sucks to see, but one dude has to win, and good for us, he did it in a good fashion that I want to see more of.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fernandez is now 9-2. He is 29 years old. His last loss was to Mark DeCasey, which is not a great look, but he looked super slick here, and 6 first-round finishes for Fernandez. Pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm honestly ready to see more.
Yeah,
and hopefully you come back better than ever. You got knocked out. Take your time, get back in the gym. Hopefully you get a matchup that's, closer to your level, because Fernandez did what he was supposed to do. When you have somebody that's, you know, a plus 270, you don't give people reason to question why you were the minus 360. So
Yeah, right, exactly. And yeah, I mean, you know, Fernandez, as I said, 29, you know, right in the, you know, early parts of where the prime should be. So hopefully he can keep getting booked and keep rising up, because 9-2, great record.
yeah.
All right, so another dominant performance. We had back-to-back really good ones. Azamat Murzakanov versus Alonzo Menefield is the fight. Talk about a masterful performance for Murzakanov, man. What a molly whopping he put on Alonzo Menefield.
So it's funny, I brought up Menenfield earlier, and I totally forgot that he was on this card because I did think Shamil Gaziev got this knockout. I remembered dreaming it, I guess, because this guy, he looked good. And for a moment, I guess I had flashbacks earlier today thinking, man, Shamil Gaziev might actually be fucking good. But no, I remember, no, it was this guy. Not
Oh
that.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no. It was definitely this guy. He was leading the charge the entire time. I mean, like, talk about controlling the pace. I mean, he was just one step ahead of Menefield at all times. Menefield, I mean, like, I don't know if it was just because he was getting so much accurate pressure early that he wasn't able to put anything together, but he had zero answers for anything that Murzakanov was doing. And I mean, like, there was the ending sequence, the fight ending sequence was a trade. He looked like he had Murzakanov a little bit stunned. Murzakanov was like, "Oh, wait a second, no, I'm gonna end the fight myself." You know?
Yeah, and this is
Turned
one
it
of
right
those
around.
guys. This is one of those guys that is unsuspectingly, you know, lethal when it comes to, like, you look at this guy.
Yeah.
I thought he was, well, honestly, I knew the round one knockout was coming because Alonzo, you just came off a knockout like 2-3 months ago, something like, maybe it was probably, you know, and you were really stupid in that one. And good performance by Asmat, because don't expect him to come in and be stupid again. And he wasn't, you know, obviously the brightest because he's getting punched in the face and not fucking returning fire, but good performance. That's really all I got to say. Alonzo, you're just still on the, I don't even know. You're on the shit list, bro. Like, I can't even tell you. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I just know you're losing when I see your name come up. Basically, is how I feel.
Yeah. He's certainly starting to rack them up, and that's definitely not encouraging. I mean, he's you know, going to be probably shot pretty far down after that. I mean, he is ranked, I believe, right? I think
Yeah.
they both ranked. So
No,
yeah,
no way Asmat is. I've never seen this.
yeah, he's
Oh,
14th,
okay. Okay. My bad.
and
My bad.
so he's going to be moving up. Where was Jesus Christ, Menefield?
Oh, 15. Oh,
Yeah,
I
okay, 14,
remember
15.
another thing I question is, like, why did they make the 14 and 15 matchup? Like, I have no idea why this even happened, because, like, is it just a spot filler to get the hometown? I'm not even hometown, but, like, you know, the Russian guy against somebody. But
I mean, really, I think that this one was a fight to have somebody do exactly what Murzakanov did. Like, yo, show that you deserve to be fighting up. Like, you know, there's a reason that you're lower in the ranks. There's definitely a reason that Menefield is lower in the ranks. You know, go out there and show that you deserve to be fighting fucking Johnny Walker. I mean, like, you know, that shouldn't be all that hard at this point. So, you know, I mean, like, a performance like that, I think that he's definitely deserving of a little bit higher up if he can keep that up with some guys that are not going to be, you know, Alonzo Menefield. But, you know, as far as Menefield goes now, I mean, he's definitely dropping out of the rankings. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if he can stick around for, you know, or how much longer he does stick around for. If he's, yeah, it depends on what they do with him. Same that we said about, you know, some of these previous guys who, like, you know, are they going to, or like we were talking about Tallulah, saying that, you know, are they going to give him like a young, hungry up and comer kind of guy? Or are they going to give him a guy at the, you know, tail end? Or, you know, where, like, what is the next fight for him? Because after a performance like that, compounded with all of the losses that he's been on the, you know, the wrong side of, it's not looking great for Alonzo Menefield right now.
yeah, I agree. And that's another thing. Like, you look at the rankings, and I talked about 14 and 15. If this was an unranked person, okay, good. Get Alonzo out the rankings. You got to earn your way back in. But like this, now he's still just floating at 15. Now we know he's got another up and coming killer to fight. And maybe, you know, good or bad for business. Now we get one more mauling in the first round, but or second round, sorry, you know, first round last time, second round this time. But
Close enough, honestly.
yeah, so I don't know. Alonzo, just figure it out, brother. Can't
I
tell
mean,
you
if he can, I mean, you know, like he, so we'll talk about it in a minute, but in the chat when I was doing the watch along, people were asking before Tony's fight, do you think that this is going to be the one where he could turn it around? And I said, I'm sad to say that I think that he's done. I mean, I'm not saying that of course they're, not at all 1-to-1, but Menafield is giving me that vibe. You know what I mean? Like, I'm starting to get a little bit of the itch where I'm like, I just don't know if he's got it anymore. Prove me wrong. Always. That's the easiest way to shut me up, is to prove me wrong. So hopefully I am wrong about that. Like I said, I'm just putting it out there now that I'm getting that vibe. So if he starts racking up a couple more losses, he might be another dude destined for a different organization.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah. And as far as Mirzakhanov goes, I mean, sky's the limit now. I mean, what's that?
Performance of the night?
Yeah, and well fucking deserved. This was definitely my fight of the night. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was gonna ask, if this got it, and I'm glad that it did, because yeah, I mean, just talk about doing everything right. That was really a performance that shows a mastery of your skill set. I'd like to see him do that against somebody who's higher up and a little bit, fresher. But if he can, sky's the limit.
Yeah, for sure.
So good for him. All right. So, okay, moving on to Joel Alvarez versus Elvis Brenner. We know how hot I was on Elvis Brenner coming into this fight. I was believing, I was holding out all hope. I forgot how fucking good Joel Alvarez is, because goddamn, was that an amazing technical performance.
Yeah, he's actually, like, I talk about, Jalen Turner is the dude that I throw this build out to, but like, honestly, this guy might be the prototype, because Jalen Turner, he ain't this guy. and what's the other one? Tom Nolan. He's a little closer. I've seen some, but he ain't this guy either, I don't think. And Elvis, we talk about killers. We know it. And I heard, I didn't see it because there was no cut on the nose or anything that I saw, but I heard that he broke his nose like in the first round. Like, that was like going around in the chats.
That Alvarez broke his nose?
No, Brenner.
Oh, Alvarez broke Brenner's nose. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I think that I do remember that too. I think that I think he got an overhand that just like smashed him.
Yeah. So, and I don't remember seeing any blood from it. So that is interesting that it was kind of like, and it probably is what fucked him up through the performance, because he did just look so off. And I'm not trying to discredit Joel, because he looked on fire, but Brenner, he was getting diced up, man. And he got finished it too. That's sad that he got finished.
That's kind of what I was going to be getting at exactly, because I was like, he's so tough. He's got a great chin, in general. I mean, up until it fails him, but it's like when you take as much damage as he was taking, the outcome was kind of inevitable, especially when it went through the first 2 rounds. The finish happened in the third, and it wasn't like super early in the third either. It's like, it just was a cumulative effect. We talk about the video game with the stats. I mean, like, his stats were just all depleted by the time that he got knocked out. He's a tough guy, but he was entirely outclassed. I mean, this was just such a masterful performance for Alvarez. I mean, that's the only way I can put it. I also had said on the watch along, I don't think I've ever seen a guy do so much while doing so little. Joel Alvarez does not move all that much. I mean, like, and when he does, he's following. He's like tracking, and like in a way that was so, like, I'm like keying into the fight and like really watching the dynamics of what was happening. It was really impressive to watch, because he's not expending unnecessary energy. All he's doing is following the motions. It's like what's the one martial art where it's like the like Jeet Kune Do kind of thing, where you use the other person's body weight against them. It wasn't exactly that, but It's like he's following the motions. It's like the go with the flow kind of thing. So like he's watching everything that is happening from his opponent and responding accordingly. And every time that he would respond, there's another big point that I wanted to make, is that I talk about a lot of times where like people putting the correct amount of power on shots. Sometimes people put too much early. Sometimes they're not putting enough. He puts the exact right amount of power on his shots. I was like, dude, every time that he would land, it was a beautiful, crisp shot with the exact right amount of power. That's why he didn't have to do that much. It was fucking fantastic. It was a really flawless performance.
Yeah, making Spain look good. I'll give you that,
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, everybody's talking about how Ilya is the most accomplished combat athlete out of Spain. I mean, there's potential for Mr. Alvarez. Well, yeah, I mean, Georgia by way of Spain, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, Joel, shout out to you, man. Give another give another good performance. I'm ready to see. Actually, performance of the night as well. It says it right there.
Yeah, yeah, well deserved. I mean, all of the hype that I once put on Mr. Brenner, I'm kind of having to throw over to Alvarez. Is he fighting in the same weight class as the English guy? God, why is his name escaping me right now?
He's lightweight.
Yeah. Is he also lightweight? What is his fucking name? Why am I not remembering the dude who just fought Edson Barbosa?
Lerone.
Lerone Murphy. Yes, thank you. Yes.
He's 45.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I was like the way that they both fight like that. I mean, if one of them wants to move, man, that I would love to see that fight. I mean, like it'd be I guess they'd have to figure that one out. But the styles kind of reminded me a lot of each other in the hard fundamental parts of it. You know what I was just talking about all of the proper amount of power, the the tracking and the motion control and everything. I mean, like it was just. I see reflections in the two of them, and I like it all because I'm really high on Lerone Murphy as well. Sorry, I forgot your name.
No, yeah. Shit is lit, man. That was a good fight. I'm telling you, these were some good ones in the middle. It was a little sketchy at times, but I was awake after my little cat naps, my little 5-er, 8-er. I was ready to see this one, and it did not disappoint.
This was definitely a good fight to wake up to if that was the case. Then yeah, I mean, not much more to say about it. Congratulations to Joel Alvarez for the bonus because it is well deserved.
Yeah, good opener.
Yes, very good opener for the main card. Moving on to the next fight on the main card here, Mackenzie Dern versus Lupe Godinez. This was a really nice performance for Mackenzie Dern.
I thought this was a really good fight in general.
I agree.
I want to argue unanimous decision for Dern is kind of crazy because Lupe was doing a lot of the damage. So when she was hitting, she was throwing slugs,
She hits hard. That is true.
So I was really hoping that she was going to catch Dern because she still does this, her defense is just back up with your chin in the air. And I was really Lupe would catch on to it and be able to overextend, but she's really she just looks so small. Like it's her limbs too. Like she's kind of just a stubby, and like she's good at wrestling because of that, but she wasn't just able to do anything with it when she was able to like get the wrestling going. And it's unfortunate that this was close to a coin flip that Vegas won, man. I'm honestly upset. Shout out Dern, she looked good. Lupe, you look good too, but Mexico, you let me down.
Well, this was definitely a fight that confirms what I've always said about Mackenzie Dern. She's another one that I put in the same category as Anthony Smith, Angela Hill, et cetera, where if it's the good version of Dern, she can get the win. If it's the shitty version of Dern, she will fucking lose. I mean, you never know, and it makes it very unpredictable and hard to judge. But yeah, I do agree. I would have liked to have seen Lupe win too because I just think she's a really good fighter, and she's going up in her last fight. She was going up against Virna, who obviously is on to bigger and better things herself now. So it would have been nice to show, okay, yeah, you might not be at Virna's level, but you're still higher up in the class than Mackenzie Dern, who has been spotty. But one thing that I do want to note about her wrestling is that when Mackenzie almost had that armbar in the first round, I think that it made her really gun shy to start trying to go back to the offensive wrestling. So she was doing pretty good with her own damage as far as the striking went. It would have been nice to see her, be a little bit more confident to get back to the ground. But of course, you're fighting against Mackenzie Dern, who is very proficient on the ground herself. So
it's kind of funny that you bring up the submission attempt that sticks to your mind because they only gave one submission attempt in this fight and it was to Lupe. So
that's
ridiculous. I don't
remember
what it was. I don't think.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Kind of deal.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't really remember either because it probably wasn't one that needed to be counted. Those numbers are absolutely insane. You might be able to say since she wasn't able to pry the arm down that maybe they didn't count it for that reason, but she was damn close, man. I mean, Lupe, she had her in the exact right position. Lupe was,
stacking.
She's stacking, and she was really clinching onto her hand to try to make sure that she wasn't letting go. It was close, and it was right at the end of the round too. If that had been another minute or two, I mean, there's potential that she could have gotten that arm free. So, Yeah, I just think that was part of the issue there. And also, the other thing too is that Mackenzie Dern, she was putting on a lot of her own aggressive pressure herself. I mean, like that I believe it was the second round. They hit the horn, rang the bell, man, and she just was out the gate putting all of that kind of pressure on. It was really heavy.
Yeah, and Dern, her striking actually looked a lot better than I remember it being. Like she actually looked capable. Again, aside from her doing that stupid head movement where she backs up, she was landing some good strikes. They just didn't have any power to them. Like Loopy just didn't really feel like she was, and it's unfortunate because Loopy could have taken advantage of that. She just had to step into the fire a little more. But
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Loopy, I hope that she can put the pieces together because she was on such a nice rise for a little while there that it is unfortunate to see her backsliding a little bit. But there's nothing to say that she can overcome these losses, and she's losing to high level people too. So it's not like she's losing to the bottom of the barrel here. I mean, she's maintains rank. She'll hopefully be able to put something together going forward. But I mean, I do think that she needs to be a little bit more confident against bigger people because you're exactly right. I mean, she is kind of small for the division, and it's gonna always be that way. I mean, like
yeah.
I don't know how many girls in strawweight are. I mean, they might be mass wise a little bit smaller, but height wise definitely not. I mean, she's on the smaller end, so
Yeah.
she's not going to be able to overcome that. So it's you really got to overcome it with your performance.
Yeah, I was really hoping, Loopy trains with Diego. I was hoping to see something. Like the wrestling looked fine, but it didn't look like you've been training with like a master grappler that we know right now. Like, so it just sucks to see because again, I had big money on her and Dudakova. This one was a rough one. After Dudakova failed, I knew Loopy had to come through, and it didn't happen. So
Yeah, unfortunate. Would have been a nice one. But good for Mackenzie Dern, I guess. And again with Mackenzie Dern, it's like next fight, who knows?
yeah,
And that's what really gets me about her. She's always, but she's seventh for a reason. It's like because she's another one. I guarantee you that the organization would love to have Mackenzie Dern as a champion. She's a bit of a looker. She's got
yeah.
features that people enjoy, myself included. I mean, I think that it would be the UFC would be very happy if they could make her a champion. She just can't put all of the pieces together. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess she's probably going to jump to sixth after that. I think they'll probably move her up one.
Yeah.
But I would think that six is probably going to be about where she'll stay. Like based on right now. I mean, again, the version of Mackenzie Dern that fought Angela Hill looked like a world ender. You should go back and watch that fight if you haven't seen it. Like anybody out there who has not seen that fight, go back and watch Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. Mackenzie Dern was so on fucking fire. Like it was just night and day difference compared to what like where she ends up in other fights. So it's just she's too unpredictable.
I agree. And it sucks that I'm on the losing end of that one. So it's whatever, man. It's just how it goes. And here we go, talking about the losing end of one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all right, let's get into it. Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. Go ahead. I mean, there's so much to say.
One, Tony with the blonde, hair that looks like he was jumped in chlorine water. I knew instantly we were fucked because I saw him with that hair before against fucking Nate Diaz, and he looked like ass. And this one, he looked like even more dog shit. Like, I can't believe that bro, I have faith. Like, I have a lot of faith in a lot of these fighters. There is no fucking way that Michael Chiesa fucking finished you with a rear naked choke in the first round. And it made me realize something too. Khabib would have fucking mauled this dude.
That's what everybody's been saying.
Like, no, it's not even like, okay, Tony's just not even like in prime form. It's like, dog, the gimmick's up. Like, it worked for 12. Like, honestly, looking back as somebody who wasn't there, how the fuck did he get 12? If he looked like, I know this is a shell of a man here, but like even looking at like what was here, I'm still not. I don't know, man. It was really bad to see. I feel so horrible that I keep watching this happen, and I want to keep watching it happen because I'm like, Tony, you're gonna get one. They're gonna give you some fucking can, man. They're gonna give it to you. This was supposed to be it, but
Well,
No.
see, but this is where you are wrong, my friend. Everybody seems to think that Michael Chiesa is just this fucking walking bag of meat over here. He is not bad. I don't know where this narrative came from that Michael Chiesa is a fucking tomato can over here. He's not. So, I mean, I liked this fight because it would have been a nice version of Tony being able to, show that he still had it against a guy who's not a complete can. So it's like, yeah, him doing this half retirement thing or whatever the fuck that was. I mean, the one glove in the cage, of course, leave it to Tony to not retire like a normal
Did you see
human
the
being.
video after? The backstage video of him?
Yeah, I did. Where he was saying that he's like, oh, I want to keep going and this kind of stuff.
I maybe the same video. Like a reporter was like right outside just recording. He was like, "So you gonna hang it up, Tony?" He was like,
"Oh yeah, no,
I'm changed my mind. Fuck that. I'm still going." Like it was kind of.
Yeah. I mean, the crowd still loves him. He's still a fan favorite. That's never gonna change. Everybody's always gonna ride with Tony. But it's like, this should have been the fight that he showed that he still had anything left. I mean, shout out to ITP TV creator here on YouTube. Makes great stuff. Really good channel. But I gotta disagree with him on this. He said, at least it wasn't Tony looking terrible before he got finished. I'm like, bro, what fucking fight were you watching? There was nothing happened before he got finished. There was a couple of pawing shots at each other. I mean, super far rangy shots that were really just looking like they were distance feelers, if anything. I mean, that's kind of even being generous. I really just think that they were both not wanting to engage until Chiesa, went in and said, oh, okay, I guess if you're not going to lead the dance, I will. There was nothing to chew on in this fight for Tony. I mean, like, this really was, sad to say, the performance I unfortunately was expecting, because like I had said, people were asking me before this fight started, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think this is the one where Tony's going to turn it around? And I was like, dude, no, I sadly think not. I think that Tony just does not have it anymore, and unfortunately proven right. And you hate to see it.
Yeah, you can just tell in his movements. You can tell just everything about Tony right now. It just doesn't work. Like at one point he was maybe able to get away not being he was able to get away with being very unorthodox before, but now that he's so withered, like he's gotta, I know change it up is literally not gonna happen, but like there's just no way I see this being anything because he's just so unathletic now. He's just an old man. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, there's no changing it up. He needs to not fight. That is the only conclusion from this. I mean, I really hope that his family can, kind of corral him. Of course, Tony is not one to be corralled, but, hopefully the people in his life can sit him down and say, look, you're taking unnecessary damage here. I mean, even if it was a submission, he didn't take a lot of damage, but I mean, come on, the cumulative effect is showing here. I mean, all of the damage he's already taken leads us to this point. I mean, there needs to, like, if the UFC books him again, that would be a real shame. Honestly, I don't care who it would be against. I don't care if it's a fucking complete can. I don't care if it's a guy off the street. I don't care if it's you or me. Any which way, he should not be fighting anymore. Like it shouldn't be happening.
And so, we've heard of Punch Drunk, man, but coined in the Discord, this dude is punch. He's got punch alcoholism. That's like, this is crazy, bro. Like this dude.
That's good.
It's bad. The fact that it was over before it started, and there was just no chance for Tony. I let my fandom win because I don't think Chiesa's that good. This is by far the worst opponent that Tony has lost to, and ever faced. So.
I would agree with that, even though I do think Chiesa is a little bit better than you're giving him credit for. But either which way, now, I mean, really, all of the focus, of course, is on Tony. Even Chiesa was, smart enough to turn the mic over immediately. Thanks, I got the win. I'm glad. Here, it's Tony's time. That kind of thing. I thought that was very wise of him. Look, Chiesa he's still kicking. He's still around. I mean, he was supposed to fight Vicente Luque, or did they already fight? I think that might have been. I think that they did fight already. I think that Luque got him in the Darce. That might have been that fight.
Yes.
So yeah. So I mean, I think that there's still potential for Chiesa to stick around and be. I think that he could take the place that Tony had as the kind of a dude of that like can just be where Tony should have been, fighting mid-level.
Yeah, and so to counter that, Chiesa is not that likable. He's not Tony, in my opinion. And
well, yeah, no, not in that way. I mean, more.
know, I get it. But another thing is like, what is next for Chiesa? This dude's a commentator, like, and he hasn't fought since he only fights once a blue moon. He only fought Tony is because that was like a fan thing that we set up. Like, yeah, he fought July 2023 and then fought August 2024. So like. And then before that, it was a 2-year break after Sean Brady. So, like, he's kind of not really fucking doing much. Unless there's a really big fight that he wants to take because somebody wants to fight Michael Chiesa. That's not Tony Ferguson.
Fair. I don't know. I guess I just don't see it the same way everybody else does when it comes to him. I don't find him that hateable. I mean, like, I think that his commentary is okay. I mean,
I want to interrupt you. I want to say that I think that's part of it is because he's a commentator. It's like, even now people are talking about how stupid DC is, like he don't know anything or DJ don't know nothing. It's like, okay, whatever. Everybody gets something wrong, I guess. But, I think that's the stigma that Chiesa is like built for him because I only know him as a commentator. Like I know Anthony Smith is like, he's kind of active and he'll do the commentating stuff, but like I understand, what he's there for. It's like Chiesa, I don't think you give that great of word, and then you're also not very active and you still want to be a fighter. So I don't know. I think it's just gives a bad rep for him, in my opinion.
Curse of the commentary. I guess it makes sense. Yeah, okay. I'll grant you all of that. I think that if he fights mid-level guys, it could be fine. If he wants to come out every once in a while, like you said, he's a blue moon fighter. If he wants to come out every once in a blue, then I think it's okay. Tony, on the other hand, should not.
Actual.
Yeah. So I mean, it would be very, very egregious on the UFC's part if they book Tony again. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Henry
knows.
And shout out you, man. I want to give you a big shout out for joining. I know we had some Discord shit going on. If I got to fix more of it, we'll talk about it after. But also shout out to the Discord. If you want a link, please come ask me for it.
Yeah. If you want a link and you're not a fucking psychopath, that'd be helpful. Yeah. All right. So that was that fight. Actually, one more thing just on this fight real quick before we move on. A lot of people, the fight did not end up happening, but a lot of people, when Nick Diaz was also still booked on this card, were upset because they thought that Tony versus Nick Diaz was the fight to make. Do you think that would have been a better, more favorable matchup? How do you think that would have gone, and would you have liked that better?
I mean, like I said, I want to see anything at this point just to give Tony a chance to get something back, but no, I'm all right.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I guess we can leave it there. Because, honestly, I don't think it would have been much better either. I mean, I think that it might have been more strike heavy. I think Nick might have, kind of tried to go out and punch out a little bit more, but I wouldn't like that one much either.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Chito Vera versus Davison Figueiredo. Why is it that Chito just doesn't want to fight, like, with any kind of volume? Like, why does he not, like, actively go out and like strike? I mean, he's got power when he does throw, but it's just like the volume is just not there. Them saying that he threw more total strikes is crazy to me, considering that he just always seems like he's stuck in second gear.
Yeah, and Chito, like, we watch the clips every time he fights. You see the mixes, you see the stuff. It's like, oh, it's fucking Chito Vera fight week, and it's him, talking about I'll eat your guts, brother. Like, no, bro, like it don't show. Davison Figueiredo came out here and did what he was supposed to do. Getting a finish on Chito. Okay, that's a little hard. I'll give him that. But he did knock him down. The first dude to knock down Chito, by the way, a fucking 25er.
Yeah, how about that?
So shout out
looking sharp at bantamweight, though. That's another thing I did want to mention, man. Davison Figueiredo making this move up was a real good call on his part because he's looking great.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, like his game plan is like different. Like, so when he was in the 25s, you watch Moreno and him, like they're rolling around. They're like, it's like in super hyper speed. Like they're just fighting at a next level. When he moved up, he's more calculated. He's not just going out there and just running face first into shit, trying to, grapple. He's actually throwing bombs. Like he sets you up he's hitting the body, he's mixing it up top. Like his combos are looking so crisp. And
it's true.
And this was so perfect of a win to get. I'm so happy it did for him, because now the rankings, like, he's moving up, and it's like, okay, there's a real dark horse coming for that belt, like, possible. Now we need to do Peter Yan, Davis and Figueiredo. Now we have the former champs fight for the next, the title eliminator. I'm ready for it. I think Figgy, the championship DNA, man, that's what it's meant. It's built.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that the move up has put a lot more power in his hands, and you're exactly right about the way that he is using it strategically looks really sharp. I mean,
Yeah.
all of his game plan is well put together in these fights. I mean, granted, again, I mean, I'm not really trying to rag on Cheeto like 100% here, but just like it felt a lot of that fight that he was letting a lot of these things happen. Like, I mean, like, Figueiredo was in the driver's seat, and Vera was just a step behind, it felt like. So it's like, I would like to see somebody who would be a little bit more volume. Piotr Jan is a great name for that. I mean, even though Jan does drop his first rounds, though. So, I mean, that's, that plays a part. But, once he gets going, he certainly gets going. So, I mean, I think that somebody who is going to be a little bit more active. I know Merab is, a little bit lofty, and of course he's fighting for the title. But someone like a Merab would also be entertaining to me, only for the sense that Merab is go 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 from the start of the fight to the end. Merab is the the gasless wonder over here. So, but either which way, the pieces of the puzzle are coming together in a very nice way for Figueiredo, and he jumped pretty heavily, and if I'm not mistaken, with that fight. Am I wrong here? I mean,
Dude,
he
Fly
was
went so fucked up.
yeah, well, yeah, that's God, yeah, look, that is crazy, but yeah, so I mean, yeah, he was sixth, and now jumped to four, so I mean, top five now. Him, yeah, versus Jan, that would make sense. Sandhagen jumping out, so actually, no, that I would say he's probably fourth now, and how's that going to shake out? That's so he would go to, yeah, so he'd go to fourth. Yeah, Jan would go to second. He would go to third, and then Vera would, I guess, stay at fourth.
No,
Maybe drop down under.
Umar takes his spot.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, yeah. God, my bad. Yeah, fuck.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
We'll get to that fight. Jesus
Well,
Christ.
I was looking at
trying to deny my memory of that one.
I was looking at it too, yeah, and I was thinking, like, if these fights happened in reverse order, I could see myself being like, Figueiredo and Umar. I think Figgy would be game to try to take that on. That's what he does. And if Peter Yan's not the one that they want, hey, Umar, you guys fought on the same card. Rest up, get to camp, get back here, and run it. I think that's a good one too. Now that I even think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of ridiculous jumps, we'll talk about it when we get to it, of course. But Umar jumping from 10th to 2nd, insanity. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, either which way, he's solidly now in the top five. Certainly part of the conversation, undeniably at this point. So this fight definitely sealed the deal. The weight move was a great choice on his part. Changing classes going right. You love to see that. And the power is certainly there. That's the to me the biggest key to all of it. You move up a weight, you're putting on weight, you're theoretically going to have more power in the hands. Chin is what you would be worried about. He did get stumbled a little bit at one point, but not to the point that it was a fight ender, of course. So I think he's looking sharp. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be in that conversation. Most definitely.
I got here watching, I think I watched Moreno and Figgy 4 because they had a quadrilogy, right?
They did, yes.
And I remember watching that, and I wanted Figgy to win that beforehand. I thought, like, Figgy, this dude looks good. I'm looking at the clips. I've seen him fight before. He's won a couple times, So the fact that now I'm watching him evolve into a different division and, a different, fighter than what I've seen in the clips, it's really unique to see. You don't get to see that, very often. People go through good transitions in their game. Like, one, moving up a weight class, but then also adding on top that your style has to adjust, that you can't be gun-ho. You got to be calculated and precise.
Yeah. It's a really nice application of the skills that he had at the lower weight being put to great use here with the additional power. I think it's a great package overall.
Yeah, because his grappling, I mean, apparently it ain't going nowhere. He looks good. And
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, most
good.
definitely. I mean, and that's going to be a big differentiator when now you have Umar in the equation. So let's move on a little bit. We'll get to that fight in a second after the co-main here, which was your boy Shara Bullet versus Mikhail Olashechuk. I am still not on this hype train. Everybody in the chat during the watch along was like, bro, you got to jump on the hype train. Look at what he did. Look at what he did. I am still not impressed. I still believe that he is a beatable fighter, regardless of the win streak that he is on.
Yeah, it's honestly just getting old, especially if you don't finish this guy and he was putting you in like so it's one thing about Shar, okay? He's one of those dudes where he thrives if the person that he's fighting is going to let him play his game, right? And if he doesn't, and you have Michael and he holds you up against the cage and then we have nothing, like just nothing happening. Like there's just literally nothing going on with Shara. He's just standing there with his leg up. You know, Michael's just holding him there. And then we break. And it's then you get back to, you know, doing your stuff. But then we go right back to you getting into like a situation where you're not showcasing all that you can do. And that's what the appeal is when you can show off. And we are getting to people that are higher ranked. And, you know, fraud checking is probably coming eventually. But this one, it is one you should have had in the bag. But you should have finished it like you should have done with your Coley if you were that dude. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Olashechuk looked a little bit slow. That was the big note that I had about him. You know, I mean, he was really putting a lot of effort into it, but it was a lot of energy expended as well. And Shar was just getting the better of the striking when they were striking, and clinched up, didn't do much there, you know, offensively on his end. So, you know, it kind of made sense that by the end he was, you know, a little bit tanked. But at the same time, Mikhail Olashechuk ended that fight on top swinging. I give him credit for that. You know, I mean, he went down swinging.
Shout out Henry. He was actually believing that Michael won. So it was honestly closer in my opinion, because there was time. I'll give Shara props on one moment here. And it's where he had him in the clinch and he was just kneeing him like relentlessly. Like it was actually pretty impressive. He was just, you know, right, left, like just throwing him. And then you see Michael clearly is like hurt after that. Like he doesn't want the body shots to come. And then Shara just doesn't like, okay, he's a great kicker and he has so many interesting kicks. Why is he not trying to set up more like body kicks after that point? Like, why are you just letting it, all right, his hand's low and like, I'll just go for, you know, a head kick every now and then. And if that ain't going to work, I mean, then I ain't doing nothing else. Like I don't know. Shout out to Michael though. He did do better than he did against Kevin Holland, early stoppage, whatever.
Yeah, and of course, much better than he did against Michel Pereira.
Yeah,
but
the body is just off for him. I don't know. That's he can't really, you know. Now that you bring up Michel, like he really worked him in the body like super early, gave him one good kick, and that's I don't know. So he did better this time, but Shara, he should have had something similar to that. If you're the kicking guru that we got right now.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta believe because the chat was asking me, you know, do I think that he deserves higher level competition at this point? And what I said was that, yeah, I would think that he does. And I would think that if he does get that higher level competition, somebody needs to put an end to this win streak. I mean, you know, taking this O does not seem like a insurmountable task in the slightest. So, you know, whoever it may be, I would like to see it, you know, somebody that makes sense for it. Definitely not the aforementioned Nick Diaz, who he called out, which I was like, bro, are you fucking kidding me, dude? You're asking for, you know, the end of the career fight? That is a weak, wasted call out and whack as fuck.
Yeah. So I want to make the first point. Or actually, I'll make that point. So I'll go to that. Yeah. When I was in the Discord, I think I might have took a bathroom break. I came back and I said, okay, so like, what was his speech? And they were like, he called out McGregor. And I was like, oh, that sucks. But then I find out he called out Nick Diaz. I don't know who said McGregor. I don't know who said that shit. But then find out it was Nick Diaz. That's even worse, brother. Like, what are you doing? Like, that shit is crazy. And then, so the second point I want to make is that I was correct, completely correct. Shara cannot see overhand rights or lefts, whatever eye it is. Michael, he rocked him with a good one, and then Shara had to keep his distance at that point. When he got him up against the cage, he threw a bomb over right hand, or I think it was a left hand because of Shara's right eye, and it caught Shara, and he realized, like, all right, man, I got to circle away and, you know, keep my fucking bad eye, not where this dude can hit me. So it was actually great. Into the world was about to happen.
Well, yeah. What was the last little thing you said there?
I was just, dude, I thought Michael was going to drop a bomb and end it right there. I thought it was coming. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but all of these guys losing to the one-eyed man here. I mean,
I
bro,
know.
come
Yeah,
on, somebody's got to be able to do this.
there's a funny video of Justin Gaethje talking about how he fought a one-armed fighter, and he was like, I'm not gonna be the guy to lose to the guy with one arm. Like, oh come on, like I got to be the
Yeah.
best. Like here we go, we got to do with one eye. He's actually limited, and you guys are losing to him. Not even like grappling where it doesn't matter. Like this is striking, this is depth perception, this is like milliseconds of like differences that can be made. Like how is this dude not got caught with a clean something? I know Michael kind of did, but we ain't seen. I don't think we've seen him knocked down like or anything like that.
No, I
Maybe
don't think so.
so. It is an interesting case. Like it's weird, bro.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Last point I'll make about Shara is they were saying on commentary, and I know that there was a picture that was going around online of him doing a little Hollywood acting. So at some point, keep your eyes, no pun intended, out for Shara in some movie that'll be coming up. Apparently, he's playing a carpet salesman slash assassin.
Oh my lord. So you wait. This is the first time you've heard about this?
No, I saw the picture when it came out, so I knew
Okay.
that I had heard about it, but I didn't know what any of the details.
So if you saw that picture, you should know that when he loses, that picture of him is going to be plastered everywhere. Get ready for your next job, buddy, because he was a UPS man.
UPS man.
Like, oh my God, I don't care what you're doing. Like, bro, you are getting memed to shut up. Carpet salesman, even worse, brother. Like, come on, they don't even exist anymore. Like, oh my God, like, dude.
Oh my God, yeah, he's destined for the Muhammad Mokaev treatment.
Dude, and that, we can talk about that one later.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well,
Shara, the Nick Diaz thing, the being in a silly movie kind of deal where you're maybe it's not silly, but obviously when I see him, it's going to be kind of goofy because he's not a fucking actor. So, like, I don't know, bro. Shout out to Shara for getting the dub, though. Like, I am gonna I'll continue to watch because I'm curious to see what he can do, and I think the end, again, like you said, the end is coming. It's got to be. There's just no fucking way.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why, look, I am always somewhat hesitant to jump on hype trains. It's very rare instances that I jump on them, and sometimes I'm wrong. Rebellis to Spain is a perfect example of that. I jumped on that hype train early and was completely wrong about that one. So, I mean, I'm very cautious with hype trains in general. This hype train does not give me anything to latch onto. Like, I have not seen anything in any of these fights. Now, I've seen him 3 times now, and not any one of these fights has given me anything that says this is the next up dude. This is the guy that you have to watch out for. Dude, I'm higher on fucking Visenik than I am on him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nothing too crazy, especially at the co-main. Like, we need to see some good shit. This is we're getting to the main event. You're supposed to, get us there and then put us over. And,
exactly. Yeah, he's co-main event, and the fact that they awarded this fight of the night is a fucking travesty. Like,
that's actually, I didn't notice that. That is pretty bad. That's definitely some hinky shit right there. Because this one and the next one.
Yeah, well, all right. Let's get into it. I guess we have to. All right, Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. What'd you think?
This, back when I talked about some weird grappling situations, we may have missed some in the other fights, but this one, again, I don't know why Corey just decided to do the same thing every time. Like, his plan was to just get to the position where Umar can have my back, and then he won't do anything. It's like, I don't know what the plan, like the Grammy roll into him just sitting on him. Like, he basically would just sit in Umar's lap and then almost give up a crucifix. It almost got locked in a couple different times. And we always think like, all right, who's going to do what in this matchup? Who's going to win? Who's going to have the upper hand? We often just forget that there are just boring fucking fights. Like, where there's not much going to happen. And that the dude who can just like get, 5 minutes of control time or 5 takedowns or whatever and do nothing with it will unfortunately win because the other dude's not going to do much either. And I thought Corey was going to have a better game plan because let me point this out too. I don't know if you noticed this. Umar has like 5 like attacks. Okay. So he has the high kick that he doesn't set up. He has the teep. He has a 1-2 and he has a shoot for a double leg. Like, that is, I absolutely don't see, like, I get Corey, he's like, I want to break the fucking, the zero. I want to figure it out. It's like, honestly, aside from him being an elite wrestler, anybody, bro, Sean O'Malley should dice this dude up. Like, seriously, like, the striking is just not impressive. The chin might be there. Again, Bezcat dropped him. I'm throwing that there. And he's probably not going to tap, which bad call by me to think Corey could do it, man. I figured, I don't know, bro, just do something, but you didn't do anything really.
Well, and yeah, so I mean, let me run this down myself here a little bit because going into this fight, basically this fight played out a lot how I had said it was going to play out, missing one key detail. So going into this fight, my prediction was Corey is going to be wise to the wrestling. He will figure out ways to get out of it, and then he will strike. That's the key component that was missing from this entire thing. Because Corey, like you were saying, the rollouts were good. He did end up on top of him a couple of times and could get out. I mean, there were times where he was negating the wrestling pretty nicely. Got himself back out to range, was able to get back to his feet. I was like, okay, this is looking really good. He did not turn up the striking in the slightest. I was yelling so loud, Corey, please hit this man. I mean, dude, where was the flying knee? Where were any of the kicks? I mean, you have so many bags, you have so many tricks in your bag because of your long, rangy legs and limbs and stuff. And being such a student of the game, we always talk about how his fight IQ is so high. He's a high level fighter for that reason. Of course, shout out to Jack. I don't necessarily want to put it on him, but I can't really see two ways about it. It looked like I'll say he was fighting apprehensive. Jack said he was fighting scared. You can take your pick.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And rightfully so. When you have a kick heavy game against a wrestler, he's just going to grab your leg and then trip you or whatever you want to say. But after
where were any of the attempts though? That's my thing. It's like it's not that. Like, look, if you get caught, if you get caught a couple of times, you can pull back on that. But he wasn't trying any of it. That's the problem. I mean, like towards the end of that fight, I think by the third and fourth round, into the fifth, it was like, bro, are you going to strike at all? I mean, it got to that point. They're circling. He was moving nicely. He was doing everything but striking.
Yeah, and once you figure out that you could, wrestle and negate and then get up, it's like, why aren't you trying to get some upper hand? You're just going to sit there and to get outstruck by Umar, the wrestler, like, come on, dog. You're just not giving yourself a good look at a plus 275. You got to make it look a little better, like you have some way of success. Like, I know you have the way of success, but you need to show us that there was a chance for you to at least like, oh, Umar's got a hole in his game. After we saw Bezcat catch him with a head kick, why did Corey not throw a single setup? Like, why did he not try to set up a single head kick? He didn't do anything. He threw one wheel kick in the end, and it was like way too far away for it to even, matter. Like, it's just crazy to watch.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. I mean, I also was of the mindset that Corey was going to be the one that was going to be able to figure it out. And to an extent, I would say that he did. I mean, like to an extent, he did figure out that what you need to do against Umar is roll out,
Yeah.
Go and pull a ludicrous, roll out. I mean, that it's the strategy that works. But if you don't have the striking to get up on the numbers, get up on the points, if you're not going to be able to go in and effectively offensively wrestle yourself, then the outcome was inevitable. I mean, really, you could see it coming from a mile away if he wasn't going to be striking.
Yeah, see, and so I'll bring up Sean because he's in the division, but Alex is the same way. He's one of these people where it's like, you're going to wrestle with him because you can't stand with him. And then once he does, now that we see Corey, all you got to do is roll with him and then just kind of, wiggle your way up back to the feet. If that happens with Sean, now you're back to where you're almost certain going to get starched and you need to wrestle for your life again. But if he keeps figuring it out, if the round ends, now you're back to the feet with someone who's going to end the fight. And Alex, great example too. It's like, you can wrestle with him, but like you have to keep him down and finish it. Cause once the second round starts, now you're back in his playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess we're going to have to see how that all plays out, considering that he jumped from 10th place to 2nd place in the rankings with that fight. Crazy. That is insane that he is able to jump the line so, like so extensively. I mean, it's very rare that that anyone's ever in that position. I mean, this is sadly, I would say, because he is kind of boring. This is hot shotting gone right.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's unfortunate that I was hoping we would see why the hot shotting is like not a good thing. He hasn't faced any ranked opponents. Now you have Corey, who's a proven, proven vet at this point, and we just didn't get impressed. We didn't have much to go off of other than Umar wrestle, Corey stand in front of him. That yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously now he is, well within the conversation is an understatement. I mean, he's, I would guess, getting the winner of Marab and Sean, right? I mean, that would make sense.
That's what I'm hearing.
So,
yeah, it really depends, if Sean, it depends on what happens with Sean and Marab, whoever is the winner, of course. And then depending on how much time they need to recover. Umar is definitely up next, and if there's time between, I'm saying Figgy and Umar. That would be fun, man. If there's got to be some time that has to pass, Peter Yan, Figgy, Peter Yan, Umar. I mean, something like that.
Yeah, well, thankfully that division is pretty active with some really good guys. So there's a couple of nice fights in there. Really take your pick of at top 7, 8. You know what I mean? There's any number of fights that make sense there. Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of said it, but you think that Sean O'Malley be able to figure this all out even with the high level of pressure?
If he beats Marab, I mean, I guess he's just so good at wrestling that nobody can beat him. I don't know. I mean, it's until the power goes, until he misses and whiffs or he's too slow. I think that might be the reality if he does it to Marab first.
It's a good point. Actually, there was a point that I was reminded of recently when it comes to Sean O'Malley that, it was buried in the back of my brain, but somebody reminded me of it. And I was like, that's a good thing to remember. He submitted Takanori Gomi in a grappling competition. That is a pretty big accomplishment. I mean, Takanori Gomi is like a old school legend of the sport. Very high level grappler, and he was able to submit him. So Sean's grappling is something that is often overlooked because he is such a striker. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Marab is going to be a good test for him as far as how he will deal with that level of pressure, because everybody thought that Aljo was going to be able to tie him up and have his way with him on the ground. Obviously, he was able to slip that, but I would say that in that fight, Aljo wasn't able to really get his hands on him. I think Marab's going to have a better shot of actually getting to him.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. It's going to come up quicker than we think, man.
Very soon, yes, indeed. So yeah, like we had said, Umar jumps from 10th to 2nd. The division gets a whole hell of a lot of shakeups now between Davison Figueiredo and Marlon Vera's fight, and Umar and Corey. That we're gonna have to wait and see how all these numbers look when they update it. I mean, it's gonna have potential to look a little bit like over here, but we'll see how it all shakes out. But I mean, Umar is part of the conversation for real now, and it is unfortunate because even in that fight, he was active because Corey made him have to be active. When he's not pressured as much, or when he doesn't have as much opposition coming at him, he will go into such wet blanket mode that I mean, you could have a champion for real that's just going to lay and pray, and that's really a scary proposition to me.
Yeah, it sucks because we talk about needle movers and performances that put you on the map and do stuff like that. He unfortunately won in not a great way against somebody that puts him in title contention. So we're gonna have to see what we see.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's all there really is to say about that. We'll see what he has to what he comes up with in his next fight and who they book him against. I mean, having that last name certainly did help him move up the ranks, but he's proven that if you can't beat him, what are you going to do? He's undeniable.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so that is UFC Abu Dhabi. Overall, pretty good card, you think?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Like I said, there was moments where I had to get some naps in. Dude, it was a good time with the card. 12 p.m. for me, but was a rough night before, and I'll
So
tell you.
you had some extenuating circumstances going on there.
Yeah, I was sleeping this one. I apologize if you saw it, guys, but we're back for the next one, perfectly awake.
Yeah, overall good card. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, we'll just, I guess, all of what we said, we'll see how it all shakes out as we move forward. Let's take a quick look at next week. Any of these fights jumping out? So you said that this Chris Gutierrez versus Javid Basharat's been canceled?
Yep, it's not. It's still on ESPN. I'm like 90% sure that's been canceled.
Yeah, it's on the UFC
Or
website.
being rescheduled or something.
That sucks because that would have been the fight I would have been looking forward to the most on this card.
Yeah, so I guess we'll keep an eye on it. I want to make a point that this card does feel a little special to me, and I will go into it. Okay, this is the card that I get for my birthday.
Happy birthday coming up.
It is awful. It's awful. But if you think about it, okay, you can make light of anything. The first fight of the night, Stephanie Luciano, Contender Series. She is on the watch this list. She's the reason that it exists. She is a beast. She's a dog, and the girl that she's facing, she won in the Contender Series, and she ain't getting no contract right away. I mean, I guess they gave it to her now, but she wasn't about to be here. Stephanie Luciano came in there, won, proved that she was ready to be in the UFC. So that one's a good one because that was right when I started the channel. She was there. Youssef Zalal. Zalal.
That's the one I wanted to mention. Yeah, I mean, Youssef Zalal in his last fight put on such a masterclass. I was extremely impressed with his last fight. So that is, Jarno Aarons. I know the name. I don't remember. I don't remember his last fight off the top of my head, but I do know the name. Either way, just the fact that Youssef Zalal being on the A side of that fight, that's definitely one to watch out for.
Yeah, 100%. After that, we got the left hand of God, Danny Barlow. That's another one that I'm looking forward to. That's is it that? No, it's down. It's down. There it is. Maybe they moved it. Hold on, go back up. It's different on yours. It's on the main card for you.
Okay. Yeah, this.
Keep going. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
Danny Barlow.
Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Again. Wait. Yours says Medic. I don't think that's right. ESPN has a Kazakhstan guy, Nikolai Viratinikov.
Oh, good lord! I mean, this is the UFC's website, so I would have
thought
they would have the information correct. Let me see. We can go to.
You would think, right? But I swear, I think it's been wrong most times. I don't know why that one doesn't fucking update like it should. Yeah, let's see what Google says. I'm on the Danny Barlow Medic on there. Huh.
I mean, I'll go to let's go to ESPN.
It's on the main card. Weird. Yeah, the Fight Center.
Fight Center.
Yeah. And then yep. Yeah, Chris Gutierrez is still on there. Yep. Damon Jackson is another good one that I'll mention because I grew up watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Great show. Love it. Matt from South Philly, Damon Jackson, we are motherfucking in the house. I didn't respect you before. I thought you were going to lose because you're a funny character in the show. You're a weakling. But I'm here for it. Mac, get it done. Show off that beautiful hairline that you got in Turkey, and I'm ready to see it. And then if Chris Gutierrez does happen, I do like Chris Gutierrez. He is somebody that I was pretty high on really early. Like this was one of my initial locks, and then he lost to Song Yadong. Yep. And he let me down, but I do believe that the skills are there. Like I initially said, like on the feet, like he's got feints, he's got striking. He's just not one of those guys that knows how to utilize it all the time, which is sucky. So another one that's really close to home, Chris Gutierrez. And then this one, I swear to you, Dana is listening to me. I have talked shit about Marcin Tybura ever since I saw him sub whoever the fuck it was, Tai Tuivasa. Ever since I've known about this dude. I hate the white slobs of this fucking division. And Spivak, and Spivak himself, right when I first started watching this sport, he got diced up by Cyril fucking Gane. Like, so fucking bad. Like, he made Cyril Gane me question, like, oh man, maybe he should be closer to the fucking belt. Like, maybe he should stay up here. Like, bro, this guy here, these two fucking slobs. Like, it is nothing different. Like, bro, They are so bad, and this is exactly what I get for talking shit. On my birthday, I get the two worst dudes that I could ever imagine watching, and it's actually a perfect send off for me. I respect it, Dana. Thank you for
Yeah.
enjoying.
Happy birthday to you on that one, eh? Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So, well, I know that you kind of went through a good amount of those. There are, there are a couple of decent fights on here. Aside from, yeah, I mean, yeah, that being a main event is, slightly underwhelming. But we said the same thing about Virna's main event, and look how great that turned out. So there is potential. Maybe it's going to be the greatest banger you've ever seen in your life. How about that?
I
Um,
have I have people telling me that Spivak is going to beat the shit out of Tiberia. Like, and I would love to see one of them lose, like convincingly.
well, one of them's
Uh,
going to lose, so hopefully it will be convincing. Yeah.
if they get a draw, that would be epic. If they get a fucking draw, these two, like, because it's already questionable. Why would you set the second matchup up? Like, who gives a fuck? Like, honestly, did we need to see it again? Did anything
It,
happen the first time?
it's a
Like,
testament to how fucked up heavyweight is. That's what I was saying earlier in the stream. Is that, yeah, heavyweight is all kinds of fucked up. It was talking about how the lower level guys can go circling around in circles. The mid level guys are doing the same thing too. You got the top of the division tied up in knots. There's only a couple of I mean, you can count them on fucking less than one hand. The amount of guys that you think are like actually like champion level. So it's like you got this mid range of guys and then lower tier guys, and they're just kind of going in the spin cycle here.
and I guess I'll bring up this point because I forgot with Corey and Umar. So with main event 5 round fights, would you like this was just something I thrown off the cusp, and they said it was something that's been pondered. Like, would more judges for like the 5 round fight, if you had 5 judges rather than 3, would that do you think that would make a difference in how we, get these fights scored if there was extra people that
Yeah.
had more eyes on it?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it for 3 round fights either. Yeah, yeah, I'd be happy with 5 judges. Why not? I mean, more that give it more of an opportunity for people to get it right. But I mean, honestly, like what I would think would happen there is that you still have the potential for it to be just as bad. You know what I mean? Because
And it'll be worse looking, like
right. Yeah.
5 judges did unanimous decision, and we just watched Spivak lay on his fucking back for 25 minutes or something.
Sure. Yeah. There's potential for that as well. So I mean, what I had said, and I guess at some point maybe I will finally like sit. When I have the time. There's never enough time for all the videos I want to make. But in I believe it was the Atlantic City video. At the end of it, I put out a couple of things that I thought might help with the officiating and judging and like just the commission's involvement in the sport in general, and just better training and accountability would go so far. Like, I don't understand why being a judge in this sport, there's no accountability whatsoever. I mean, now granted, it's all opinion based, and that's kind of part of the problem with the sport as well, is that I mean, unless you get a decisive finish, you're always kind of at the mercy of how you saw the fight, what angle you're watching it from. There's so many factors that go into it in such a short amount of time, and such microsecond exchanges and stuff like that. It makes it hard, but I do think that there should be some more strict standards as to how they are judging, and the judges need to be held to those standards a little bit better.
I don't know the credentials of the judging most of the times, but off rip, I think of like, what if the judging, what if they were people that were, what if we had like an ex grappling fucking guru, like obviously he did, stuff to get sanctioned to be able to judge or whatever. But if he had the mindset, like, I got to go be the real guy who knows and judges like striking, and then you have one who's like or a striking guy would be your next coach, and then you got a wrestling guy or whatever. And then objectively, you can look at those like big named people. Like, okay, so for example, like the NBA dunk contest, I know this is a reach. You got people who have won the dunk contest, who have done the cool dunks or done the shit that they're rating. Like, who are these fucking judges, man? Like, I honestly question sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, theoretically, I believe that most of the judges are people who are familiar with the sport. I mean, that's my understanding, at least. But again, now you're also it depends on what commission you're talking about. There's a lot of variables that go into it. I think that really the ambiguity of certain elements of how judging is conducted is the bigger issue. I mean, like, Because really, with what you're proposing, you could end up in a situation where grappling guy says, "Oh, well, this guy's grappling was 30-27, but this guy's like, well, his striking was 30-27." You know what I mean? So it's you end up in a situation there too. Like I mean, I guess that third judge would be the linchpin. Somebody who's, I guess, just a well-rounded guy or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the issue we got right now. Maybe I'm just depicting what we're seeing right now because they
It could
obviously
be.
can never fucking decide.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it just needs to be stricter as to how they're actually doing the judging. I mean, I don't want to get into the point where it's like nickel and diming to where they're like counting punches or anything like that. That would seem like a little excessive and unwieldy. I don't think that that's possible to really be effective as a judging method. But there just needs to be a stricter set of standards. Like, we know what the they say it at the beginning of the broadcast. It's effective. This, da, 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 and aggression is the last one, and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they list it out, but like, what do those things mean, and how do they manifest themselves, and how are the judges weighting those things? Like that, like the tiered list needs to be more strict, and the judges need to be held more accountable. I'm not talking about necessarily by the MMA community. I'm talking about by the fucking commissions. Like, dude, if you see that, like, when Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso had their fight, the second one, and there was the controversy about the 10-8 and the like the knees and all that kind of stuff was coming into play with the illegality of some of the knees, perhaps, yada yada. Like after that, because of that 10-8, they had a special clinic for the commission held a judges clinic to say, like, this is how you need to be scoring. Why are they not doing that on a regular basis? I don't care if they're getting bad calls. Like, they should just be doing constant updates with these people. Like, yo, are you seeing the right things? Are you judging the right way? Like, it should be an ongoing process of, we talk about these fighters improving time over time. The judges should improve time over time. Really, if you get a bad call, you should be like, there should be a class for that. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Every other job you have, you fuck up, you go take a class.
True. And I think it goes back to, for me, I think bigger name people is because, like, what's Nick, maybe it's not Nick, the dude with the pink hair at one point, he became a ref or a judge. God, what the fuck is his name? Starts with an L, I think is his last name. God damn me.
Chris Lieben?
There, why did I think Nick? Either way, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
Chris Lieben did become a judge, yeah.
So we get people that we can point out, like, yo, what the fuck were you scoring, dog? Like, you need to, at least give us a reason. I know we have some referees, Mark Goddard's pretty good about giving some explanations of, his calls or his point of view. Put the ref out there, or not the ref, but put the judge out there. Let me get Chris Lieben out there. Tell me why the fuck you would give a 30-27, in that matchup or something. Not
absolutely.
No name judge number 2 where I can't even find his fucking name.
Well, and I think that part of the problem too, and this is one that I don't know if there's really a good fix for, but I think part of the problem is that the commission is not exactly making these guys rich. I think that the judges maybe get like $500 an event, like an event, not per fight, per event, and so it's like, that's not exactly life-changing money. So it's like, I say that to say, I don't know if the commission necessarily has the resources for it, but like, what I would like to see is have them explain their decisions every time. Like, give these guys a little bit more fucking homework. Make it a tougher job in general. That's why the people who actually want to do it rise to the top, Like, after an event, have them go through, like, the same way that the judges on the Supreme Court have their fucking opinions, They write their opinions out in long form. Like, make them do video testimonials. This fight, I saw it this way for this reason. It doesn't have to be super in-depth, but I think that it would make a bit of a difference.
Yeah, that would be funny. I mean, the sport's ever evolving. There's still room for improvement, obviously. Once, like, bro, the NBA, they just hit their 75th. They're still adding new rules. The NFL, they just updated the kickoff. Like, it's only a matter of time before the UFC, for better or for worse, updates what's going on and gets, more.
Well, it's the commission, it's not the organization. But yeah, I mean.
Well, but either way,
right. I know what you're saying.
Things will change. So it's interesting to see what's going to come in the future for it. Maybe one day we just will have bliss for judging. Like, maybe they just get everything right, but I don't see it.
Yeah, this is one of the it's a double-edged sword about this sport. There are no goalposts to kick through. There's no finish line to cross. It's a game of inches where it happens at such quick pace. I mean, there's so many factors that go into the fight game and how it how it all shakes out. It's a tough 1-2 call. I don't envy their positions. You know, it's why I always try to be a little bit lenient with the referees, because, you know, they're in there making split-second decisions and they only get negative feedback. You know, I mean, like, it's very rare that, you know, there's select instances and times where you'd be like, okay, that was a good call, I'm glad you did that. But, like, on the most part, you know, we were just talking about Jason Herzog in the Jared Cannonier fight, you know, not too long ago. And it was like, damn, Jason Herzog, who I was always holding up as like one of the absolute best in the game, he fucked up in that point, and you know, in that instance, and now that's a blemish on his record. So it's like, you know, you only remember the really bad times. People talk about Herb Dean. Herb Dean is like arguably the best referee of all time, but he has his blemishes too, and people will he's memed to death in the discussion groups, you know? Oh, punch him till he's dead, you know, Herb Dean, the running meme, you know? I mean, there's a million of them. So it's like, it's a tough job to have, and obviously it's not making anybody super rich. I just think that there's measurable changes that can be made to make it a little bit better, and accountability goes a long way, because if you're held accountable each time, then it becomes more routine. Then these instances of craziness, they don't stick out as much, or like they are recognizable as crazy a little bit more readily than if it was, you know, just something that's like everything's going straight and then all of a sudden something crazy happens.
Yeah, for sure. It's a process.
Yeah, it's ever evolving, as you said. So we took a little bit of a tangent there. I just wanted to add a couple of notes to this this card here. And this is the upcoming fight night, Tibera versus Spivak, part 2. As we said, if this fight is going on, I do like this Chris Gutierrez versus Javid Basharat fight. Farid Basharat was just in a little bit of a scuffle himself in London and Manchester, England. You heard about that with MVP? He was that was Farid Basharat. Yeah, wow. Farid Basharat was the dude who was on the other end of that little scuffle where fucking Alexander Volkanovski had to come in and muscle his way. Yeah.
Dude, he's crazy. It's honestly crazy to see him around other people. Like, I know I ain't tall, but like, bro, I might be taller than Volk. Like, Volk is really fucking short, man.
He's short,
but that guy is wide though. That guy is wide.
And you know, call him short to his face and see what he says, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Bro, hey, Volk, no disrespect, man.
I mean, I think he'd say it too. Volk's a cool guy. Everybody wants to have a beer with Volk. You know, he's a good dude. But yeah, don't fuck with him. But yeah, so the other fights I wanted to just briefly mention here. Yana Kunitskaya, Yana Santos, now the wife of Thiago Santos. She's never been like a world ender, but she is fighting Chelsea Chandler, who you might recall. I don't know if you saw that fight, but she's the one that got memed to death because she like ran full sprint away. That was a funny fucking meme. So she will always be kind of associated with that. So go get a good win over Yana Santos and break that meme image that you have for yourself. And then Carol Hossa versus Pansy Kenzant. Pansy Kenzant is she's the one who got the up kick on Macy Chiasson, and Macy Chiasson overcame that. They had the rematch and Macy won. So she's on a little bit of a backslide here. Carol Hossa is a fighter who she probably should beat. Put on for Sweden. That would be nice for our friends over on that side of the world. And then, I already mentioned it, but keep a fucking eye out for Youssef Zalal. If he fights anything like he fought in his last fight, that is going to be an absolute banger. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much it. We talked about, we didn't talk about Chepe. I mean, I think that this is going to be a really hard fight for Damon Jackson because Chepe he's kind of the real deal over here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Damon Jackson, I see it now. All game. I love that term because when I see people who just, Damon Jackson had his phone. He's at the airport. Like, he's like, hey, I just accepted the fight against fucking Chepe. Like, it's like, bro, this dude's about business. He's not just hanging out. Like, he's on the plane going to wherever the fuck he needs to go to get in shape to fight. And, like, that happened pretty quick. I just saw him fight a couple months ago. So, always game. I respect it, man. You're becoming a fan favorite, I swear. Damon Jackson, the leech. The other leech.
Yeah, the other leech. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm with it too. I like him a lot. I just think he's up against a really big test in Chepe because I mean he's been looking pretty sharp lately. So Yeah, but that's I guess that's about it. I mean, yeah, not too much to say about the main event. Just that I also hope that it's entertaining in one way or another, and I hope that Marcin Tybura comes in with a better haircut than the one he's got in this little preview picture here, because that haircut was ridiculous.
Yep, it was pretty bad. I don't know
That's
where he
coming from
got
me.
that himself. Yeah, dude. Talk about bad haircuts. We can go on for days. I can show you pictures. I ain't never had no shit like that. I can tell you. Rat
Yeah,
tails, buzz cuts, never no half fucking two-faced. Like, I don't know what he's doing.
Two
It's
Face is a good
crazy.
way to put it, man. Yeah, just the entire side of the head with the one with that lock.
I don't
Okay.
think he understood how to fix. Like, okay, so he probably had some issues. And I don't think he understood how to fix it. Like, okay, maybe he was balding on one side. He was like, all right, fuck it, I'll just take that side off. Like, I got a whole other side of hair. Like, I don't see what his point was. But man, that is impressive. I am honestly, it is
it,
impressive to walk around with that.
yeah, I was to say it takes a large amount of confidence. So good on him for that. And yeah, Polish power. So hopefully, we'll see something good in that fight. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. And of course, we will be back next Monday to talk about all of the fights on this card here that we just went over a little bit. You can find me right here on the Yama channel. That's youtube.com/@YamaShow. Also on social media at Yama Show, pretty much everywhere. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you.
Obviously, you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And if you want to come to Twitter, at Creative Partin, Partin.
Follow my boy. Make sure you follow me too for these last week's fights. I will always post the start time on Twitter and on Instagram, so you will always be up to speed. Until next time, everybody, unless there's anything else in the sport you wanted to go over, Mr. Chase.
No, I think we're good to go. I think that's just how it goes for another week, another great Monday, and we'll be back.
We will be back. Absolutely. All right, everybody. You have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the fights coming up. As I didn't mention, but we both do individual watch along. So if you want to watch along with either of us, catch us on the YouTube channels respectively, and holler at you boys over here. We will catch up with you in the next stream, everybody. Contender Series starting soon. Both of us will be streaming for the Contender Series as well. Make sure you check that out as well. And that's about it, everybody. Have a great rest of your night, rest of your week, and most importantly, fight on.
Change.